Yo guys, and welcome back to another video on this channel. I hope you guys are doing fantastic as usual. And today we're gonna take a look at Svelte Tweens. Svelte Tweens are a way to give your application a bit more life. Instead of having this robotic feel where a value just changes, you can actually use tweens in Svelte to interpolate between two different values. So we have a start value, and then we can set a new value of a tween, and then we can interpolate, having an animation. So this is how the tutorial page for tweens look in Svelte. And just like I said, we can use these to animate between two different values and kind of give the user a bit more visual feedback to what's happening, rather than instantaneously going from 0 to 100%. We can actually tween and slowly increase towards that goal. So to create a tween in Svelte, we use the tween function, which we import from Svelte Motion, and then we also provide a default value. If you're paying close attention, you might notice that this looks a lot like stores in Svelte. So just like we can use stores in Svelte, where we provide a default value, the concept of tweens are very similar. And after we have provided this default value here, we pass in an object which contains the properties or settings for this tween. And if we look down here, we can see all of the available properties. So we have delay, and the delay simply means the delay before the animation starts. So perhaps you want to delay a couple of seconds before you actually start animating, then you can do that with the delay. And then duration, probably the most important one, which lets you decide how long the animation should take. So if you want to have a quick, snappy animation, or maybe you just want to tween really slowly, maybe you have like a whole minute of going from 0 to 100%, then you can specify that duration. Then there's also something known as an easing function in Svelte. You can actually roll without an easing function. So if I remove this here, and of course it still works, we still get a bit of an animation, it's kind of got a robotic feel to it. We can give it a bit more of a lively effect by using an easing function. And a good tool to pick the right easing function can be found here under examples. There is actually something here known as the ease visualizer. So we can see all of the available easing functions in Svelte, all the built-in ones I should say. You can also create your own easing function that is just simply done by passing in your own function. It's just JavaScript, of course. But here you can actually visualize these easing functions. So just a quick warning, I'm gonna change to light mode now. And here you can actually see the graph a bit more clearly. So here are all the available easing functions. We have sine, quad, cubic, quart, quint, expo, circ, back, elastic, and bounce. So these are all the built-in easing functions in Svelte. So here we can see the start value, and here we can see the end value. And the easing function simply determines this graph here. So we can see you can have a sine. All of these are quite similar, all of these first ones. It just has a bit of a different curve. The really interesting ones are though elastic and bounce, so we got a really interesting curve here. And the benefit here is that you can play around and see what would look the best in your application. So you have elastic and bounce. The bounce is really funny. Then there's also a type in Svelte, which is ease in, ease out, and ease in out. So with ease in, we kind of start slow and really accelerates towards the end here, and it's kind of the opposite with ease out. So you can see we can start really fast here, and then we kind of slow down towards the end here. So ease in out is fast in the middle and kind of slow in the start and end. So this is a really good tool to play around with if you want to get used to the different easing functions in Svelte. So the fourth and final property here is the interpolate property, which you can use to specify a custom interpolator. So this is used for more uncommon data types, such as colors, or perhaps you have like a string that you want to interpolate based on different values that you like have a custom logic for, so you can create your own interpolator. So let's try using a tween in our to-do application. I'm kind of gonna be a copycat here and also use a progress bar because I feel like it's really suitable for a tween. I add a progress bar here at the top to show how many % of the tasks have been completed. I'm gonna copy this from the example since it worked so well. I'm also gonna name it progress tween to be a bit more precise. And then to calculate the completed percentage, I will need to loop over all of the tasks and check if they have been completed or not. And I'm going to do this with a reactive statement so that progress updates whenever the tasks update. So I created a function here which loops over all of the tasks in the whole board and check if they have been completed or not, and then compare the completed tasks with the total tasks. And then I simply use the dollar syntax in Svelte. So since this is very similar to a store, I actually think this concept is called writable in Svelte. We simply use the dollar syntax here to set a different value. Then we use a reactive statement here to reactively update this whenever board changes. So we're passing in this parameter board. It's very important that we actually pass in this so that Svelte knows to listen for whenever board changes. And when board changes, we simply run this function get completed percentage, and then we assign that to the progress tween. And to visualize how tweens work, we can simply print out the progress tween. And it's important here to also use the dollar syntax to get the actual value. Otherwise, I believe you can try this out. We get an object since it's just a writable. I realized that we don't actually have completed status in desktop mode, so I have to show this for mobile. But perhaps this is something that we can change, or you simply have this only for the mobile. But if I complete a task now, we can see that this value interpolates. It's delayed. If I didn't use a tween here, it would be immediately set to 1/3. And we can see that this changes also when we uncheck a checkbox. So the effect is the same in reverse order. And just showing a number changing here isn't that fancy, so let's add a progress bar. So I added a very simple progress bar here with 2 dividers, so simply a child divider that I control the width of. And then we can actually use this progress tween value in here. We just need to make sure to multiply by 100 to get a proper CSS value. And now we can see that it's 0, which is realistic since we haven't actually completed a task. If I now complete a task, we can see that we have a tween. Isn't that beautiful? We suddenly gave a bit more life to our to-do application. Of course, we can also play with some more fun effects like bounce. If I bounce this tween, we can see, yeah, that's a bit dramatic. Maybe if you have a cartoon themed to-do application, then maybe bounce is suitable for you. Let's also try out this interpolate option to provide a custom interpolator. I thought of something like a color interpolator, so we could perhaps interpolate between the white color on this to-do item to a green color whenever you complete it or something like that. So for this we need a color interpolator which is not built in Svelte. So I'm going to use this neat library D3 interpolate, which we can use to interpolate between very many different things. But we're going to be using this color interpolation specifically. So as you can see here, you can interpolate between 2 values and you don't even need to remember any hex codes. You can simply provide a valid CSS color like steel blue, and then you can interpolate between these 2 values. Let's go ahead and install this package. Now we'll create a tween in this to-do item component, which will be a color tween. And instead of having this 0 as the default value, we'll use the color white. Then let's set the background color of this to-do item to that color tween value. We can do this with some inline styling, and we can see that there was no change really since the default value is just white like we are used to. And now let's actually go ahead and use that interpolate function. So we can simply pass in that interpolate RGB function from this D3 interpolate as this interpolate property. Of course, we need to import it as well. And now to actually change this color, we will need to hook into this onCompleted change. So we're going to have to create a function for this, or an event handler. This event provides us with the current completed state, so the boolean of completed or not, which we can use here in the event handler with just the detail, a custom event in Svelte. And now let's reflect that change in the color. So we can change color tween now, and we'll set it to either green or white depending on if it's completed or not. So if it has if I just now check it, it will be set to green, or if it is completed and I uncheck it, it will be set to white. And let's also change the easync function here to cubic out. We're not going to be that fun and have a bounce as our easync function. And I'll also increase the duration here to make the effect a bit more clear. I'll set it to something like 4 seconds so we can really see this progression. So if I now go ahead and check this task, boom, we can see that that color is being interpolated. We are going from white to green, and the same effect applies if I now were to uncheck it. You can see that it goes back to white. We can actually provide a real default value here since we actually have access to if it is completed or not. So I will just extract this logic out to a function. I just created this getCompleted function, which I can use now in onCompleted and as the default value here. And here I simply pass in data.completed, and we can see that that also works. So now these are set as green, and that also works and persists whenever I reload, since that is saved to local storage. What a beautiful effect. So something that we can't forget now is that we actually need to dispatch completed change again. Since we're handling this here, we actually had event forwarding previously, so we need to forward this event again because we need to be able to save that to local storage whenever we complete a task. So I just pass on that again with dispatch completed change, and then I send that boolean again. So if I now uncheck this middle one and reload the page, we can see that that persists. Awesome. So that's all that I wanted to show in this video. I hope you guys enjoy this shorter video format that I'm trying out. Feel free to comment and let me know what you think. If you have any questions, also feel free to drop them below, or just let me know how your project is going. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.